I've always enjoyed watching Disney Pixar short films anytime one pops up before the actual film in the cinema, but I tend to, regretfully, ignore Disney's solo efforts, particularly from early on in their development as an entertainment powerhouse. I came across the 1934 short Goddess of Spring one day, which Disney created as part of their SillySymphony series. This was their platform of sorts to experiment with various animation and storytelling resources, and Goddess of Spring served as their practice run dealing with humanoid characters before they released their first animated feature, Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, 3 years later. Story-wise, Goddess of Spring is a condensed adaptation of Persephone in Greek mythology, or Proserpina in Roman mythology, that presents Hades and his underworld as more in line with Satan and Hell respectively. Smitten with the goddess and determined to make her his queen, he takes her away from her kingdom above, leaving her subjects alone in the dead of winter. When he sees how unhappy she is, they strike a deal whereby she spends half the year in the kingdom so as long as she returns to him for the other half, giving birth to the 4 seasons. Antiquated it may be, it still has several strengths worth noting. The melodramatic opera, for one thing, is actually quite understated, and I find myself paying more attention to the emotions and the colorful imagery. The whimsical art style is mostly consistent, even if the animation is rather clumsy, though I find it strangely works for the goddess by making her seem otherworldly. What I find especially interesting is Hades' standing on the spectrum of evil. He and his minions don't seem intent on terrorizing the kingdom. They're only after Persephone. Yes, he sweeps her away without her consent, and that is completely wrong. However, we later see that he does actually care about her feelings, as she has an obligation to her subjects and is genuinely happy to be with them. Thus, he is willing to compromise and negotiate in the relationship. Whereas many conflicts would result in some form of violence whenever there's a fantasy setting involved, theirs is resolved peacefully and with patience on both sides. I would have liked to see how she came to view him over time in order to expand on this nuance. Nevertheless, her silent protests were what brought about the resolution, because her subjects sure couldn't figure out a way to bring her back or fend for themselves. I understand why this was done though, to make us sympathize with her situation and develop Persephone, and, in a way, Hades, as a hero. Something else I find intriguing is that the two worlds are indeed similar. The citizens are all about having fun, dancing and playing music all day long, even if their preferences and expression are different. It makes me think that neither side is more selfish or carefree than the other. With that in mind, there are assumptions that could possibly be made about the ending. Perhaps Persephone's world needs to learn to adapt and share her responsibility in its own way whenever she's not around, as well as understanding the importance of having these seasons at different times of the year. The short could have been extended to a feature-length film, so that these themes were explored further, particularly in light of educational media for children. But for what this is, it's largely pleasing to look at and can very well be regarded as a time capsule of Disney's portfolio building, as it were, before their transition to the groundbreaking motion pictures we all know and love today.